Welcome to the Fueling Fire podcast, the first and best nutrition podcast for first responders. We bring in the wellness experts who know the fire service, but can break down the science so that you don't have to. This podcast will help you eat better when you don't have time, money, or energy. I'm Megan Lautz, a civilian dietitian obsessed with helping firefighters boost energy and lose body fat while on shift work without the stress. Let's get into the podcast. Hello and welcome back to the Fueling Fire podcast. Today I have Taylor Janulewicz, who is a dietitian who specializes in cancer nutrition. And we're going to be talking about all things, ideally mostly cancer risk reduction and the fire service. But Taylor sees quite a few first responders in her practice, and we're really excited to have her today to discuss this. Taylor, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Awesome. Well, can you give us a little bit of background about who you are, what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Taylor Janulewicz. I'm a dietitian out here in Arizona. So I actually started my career in the hospital side working ICU, which is intensive care unit, and then actually fell into bone marrow transplant. So that's where you work with patients that have been diagnosed with leukemia, lymphoma, and then we were trying to cure their cancer with bone marrow transplants, either their own or from a donor. And that's when I fell in love with the oncology, which is also known as cancer space. And that's how I found, my true passion. And that's where I started my business in.
Awesome. So with that, cancer prevalence in the fire service, it's somewhere between 66 to 70% of line of duty deaths are related to cancer, which is really scary, I'm sure, because most people think, it's crushing or car accidents or burns that are taking, firefighter lives, unfortunately. But a lot of it's actually cancer related due to carcinogens that they're exposed to at work on a day-to-day basis, in their gear, on the fire ground, that kind of thing. So kind of getting into the risk reduction, what is the first place that you start when people are looking at trying to reduce the risk of cancer?
Yeah, absolutely. So I look at three things for reducing your risk, at least from a nutrition standpoint. I can't speak to, the line of duty that they're in and they're exposed to it. You can't get away from that. That's the job you're doing.
Sure.
I mean, I'm guessing you may know better than me, wear your PPE and don't take it off or however that works.
Yeah, you're trying to minimize exposures and decon and yada, yada. But this is a nutrition podcast. So there's plenty of podcasts for decon and all that. No one's really talking about that nutrition side of things.
Yeah. So the three things I tell anybody who's trying to reduce their risk of cancer, we can reduce the risk. We can't prevent it. So I always like to talk about the difference between that, because a lot of people are like, oh, you're preventing cancer. I'm like, I can't tell you I'm going to prevent your cancer, because there's so many variables that come into cancer. It's not just nutrition. If that was true, none of us would have it. Risk reduction is a better way of saying it. We're reducing your risk as best we can. I'm not promising you will never get cancer down the line, but we can reduce it from the nutrition standpoint as best we can. So the three things I like to talk about is reducing your deli meats and red meats, smoked meats.
Oh boy, this is going to be an emotional conversation.
And I was like, ooh, this might hurt some people.
Not gonna go well. Yeah. Sometimes they order a pound of bacon per person when they make brunch on shift.
Oh.
So for context.
Okay. Yeah, this is going to be a sad conversation for them
This is
to hear
gonna be
this.
hard to hear, yes.
My bad, guys, but reality.
Here we are. Tell us about the deli meats.
We'll just start off hard with that one.
Yeah. Sorry, going in the wrong direction.
Yeah, your deli meats. And then alcohol consumption.
And we're going right downhill. You're just checking off all the boxes for the favorites here.
And the last one is red meat.
Yeah.
Those three are known risks for cancer through nutrition itself. A lot of people think it's sugar. It's not sugar itself that leads to cancer. It's those three food groups. You want to put them in three different food groups that actually have research backing of risk of cancer with those high intakes of those.
Sure. And do you, off the top of your head for some of those, have an idea of high intake? What can I get away with is basically what the question will be.
I get this question a lot from everybody that comes to my office. I'm like, well, if we can reduce it as much as we can, none is best, but,
Mhm.
1 to 2 times a week would probably be sufficient. I don't have an exact number from like any of the Cancer Research Institute
Mhm.
related to that, but trying to minimize or eliminate it. When it comes to red meat, there's actually a number. It's less than 18 ounces per week, not per day, guys.
Yeah, that's how much they get at the restaurant
I
as the steak. And
know.
it's
Yeah.
not good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Not,
18 ounces a week. Ugh,
yep.
ugh. Yep,
Yeah.
yep, yep. So red meat, that's, beef, pork, and lamb?
Correct.
Yes. Okay.
And yes, pork is a red meat, which I know you know, but a lot of people are
Yeah.
like, "What? That's white meat."
Wait a minute. Yeah. You're taking away everything fun.
I
Um, yeah, because I mean, that one of the bigger challenges is, you like, so a lot of stations will have smokers,
Mhm.
right? Which I don't know, kind of going off of that, like, is there anything concerning with, like, the smoker, like, smoking meats and such?
Yeah, man, they're not gonna like me on there.
Yeah, yeah, we're not mute.
And they're like, "We
Yeah.
will speed past this podcast episode."
Yeah, this one seemed like a good idea at the time, and it's already going downhill. It's fine. You know
It's
what? We're here to tell the truth. It's
Yeah.
fine.
I always tell my, like, clients, I'm like, "I give you the information, you decide what to do with it.
Right.
I'm
You
not your
determine your
mom. I'm
risk.
not gonna handhold you through this and be like, 'Oh, for shame, you ate more than 18 ounces this week.'"
Yeah.
No. Like,
Yeah.
so with going back to the smokers, so it's not great because if you think about it, the fire and the flame causes the smoke,
Mhm.
and the drippings from the meat hits the flame, it causes that smoke, which is actually the carcinogen that
Yeah.
gets onto the meat,
Yep.
and you can't get it off.
Yes.
So
And
that leads
unfortunately, it's delicious.
it's yes. Great. I still enjoy it from time to time, but it's not my
Sure.
daily thing or weekly thing.
Right.
And also your charred parts of the meat too is
Sure.
really higher risk for cancer. So you can't cut it off. I mean, smoked, that's why it tastes good all the way through. It's smoked.
Mhm.
So yeah, there
Mhm.
is links to that as well.
Okay. Not great news. Um, but kind of circling back to the deli meats, because deli meats, it's like, okay, like ham and like turkey, whatever. Like that includes bacon, sausage,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
Yes,
Hot
any
dogs.
processed meat. Um, Tell me about chicken and turkey. Like, what about chicken and turkey versions of those?
So same, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's just all bad news.
It's
It's all bad news. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. I
yeah. Okay.
always like, if you're trying to reduce your risk, you're like, okay, but what do I take for lunch? Or my wife or my husband's packing my lunch and that's what we do. How can we this one thing we decide we're gonna like lower in our intake on? I say get like actually turkey that you can make. Like you can buy the breast of like turkey, like Thanksgiving, but not the whole bird. You can cook that up yourself and slice it. You don't have to go get a deli slicer. I mean, I know some people and some gentlemen that have done that, and I'm like, that is like a whole kit and caboodle. Like, that's a lot
I
of
wouldn't
work.
be surprised. I wouldn't put it past them. Like I said, they have station funds. I've had one station buy a hot dog roller, like the 7-Eleven hot dog roller. So you really can't put it past these guys.
Okay. I was like, I mean, if they're gonna do it, might as well do it
I
make it thin or as thick as you like.
yeah,
Yeah,
but okay, so even the turkey sausage and that kind of thing, like, so basically, essentially, that's reducing your fat intake, but it's not reducing your cancer risk
correct.
necessarily. Okay,
Mhm.
and then like nitrates, nitrites, like that. Like, what if I get uncured? What if I get nitrite free?
Yeah, it's all bad news on that one.
Yeah, yeah. There's no workarounds. Essentially, is basically what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm also an all food fits kind of dietitian. Like,
Right.
I'm not
Yeah.
going
Same.
to tell you like cut out everything you love, but if we can reduce it as best we can, that's
Hmm.
better than, you just continuing to eat it and knowing that it could, increase your risk for cancer down the line, along with
Sure.
everything else that's going on in life.
Sure.
So like, not every day have a deli sandwich meat, or every day you're doing red meat with that.
Hmm.
And then I don't know, I've heard, people, the nightcap, like cutting back on alcohol too. Like all these things can be very beneficial for you down the line. I mean, for anybody, not just firefighters.
Sure, totally. Yeah, the challenge is it's like you kind of we're listing off like a lot of the favorites, right? And firefighters don't do things in small portions; they do them in excess. That's just kind of the nature of the beast, right? It's all or
Mhm.
nothing. Where are those recommendations stemming from? Are you getting this based off of like IRAC hazard classifications? Like, where are we getting this from?
American Cancer Research Institute. So
Okay.
you can find it on there. You could look it on even Mayo Clinic's website,
Hmm.
MD Anderson, any of your big cancer research facilities. I think that's the right way of saying it, but
Yes.
centers, yeah, will
Okay.
all back that recommendation on nutrition. It's not just me pulling it out of my back pocket and like this dietitian's being
Yes.
mean and taking all our fun things away from us. But
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, the food police is it's not a good look for us. Okay. Well, yeah, like then let's kind of because my understanding is the IARC hazard classifications. Those are the three big ones. I think it's like red meat, deli. Red meat might be I know alcohol is a type 1
mhm.
carcinogen, so it's known to cause cancer in humans. I believe red meat and deli meat are type 2A, which is some evidence to cause cancer in humans. Am I sounding on point or off point?
It's sounding on point. I wish I had the research in front of me to confirm or
Yeah, to know
deny.
the difference. But basically, it likely increases your risk for
Mhm.
those two food items. So those are the big three, correct, for food. Are there others
Those
that
are
we're
the
missing?
three big ones, which
Big three ones.
people look at me crazy. They're like, there should be more.
There must be more. The internet told me there would be more.
Yeah.
Um,
You know,
well, before we kind of talk about the more, sorry, I'm kind of all over the place here. The alcohol. Let's dig into that. So why is alcohol considered a carcinogen?
man, I wish I had the science to back that one up, why it's
Yeah,
considered a carcinogen, but it is
yeah.
damaging the cells. I mean, it is a known toxin that goes in
Hmm.
your body and
Hmm.
it does damage to the esophagus, the mouth, it does it to your stomach, everywhere it goes, liver. It's one of the top for you. You'll see breast cancer, throat cancer, mouth cancer, stomach cancer from high alcohol intake. I mean, I don't work in radiation myself. I have a colleague that I know really well that works in radiation. That's a lot of her patients that end up with cancer are heavy drinkers, the mouth and throat and
Sure.
radiation.
Those are the
So,
big ones.
yeah.
Yeah. So what's considered heavy drinking? Because I think one of the traumatic things that I bring up to the first responders is the what heavy drinking is classified as. That's a big trigger.
Yeah, I would love to hear what you tell them.
Yeah, I think I feel like it depends on where I see the standard for this, but I think it's under 7 drinks a week and under 14 for 7 for women and under 14 for men. Um, and the reason I go with that is because yeah, it's 1 drink per day for women and 2 drinks per day for men, but they work shift work. So right, so if you work a 24-hour shift, you can't anymore legally drink on shift. Back in the day, apparently you could.
Oh,
Um,
wow. Did not know that.
yes, some stations, in fact, had bars in them.
Things you don't
It's,
know.
I learned way too much. But so then the big thing is, well, Megan, if I worked 24 hours yesterday, then my drinks can double the next day, so I can do 4 when I get off shift, and like that
Mm-mm.
that's not how this math works. And the other side of that too, okay, so it sounds like, okay, 7 drinks for women, 14 drinks for men. That sounds reasonable. Well, it's also the serving size,
Mhm.
right? So 1.5 ounces of liquor, 12 ounces of beer, 5 ounces of wine, which if you've ever measured any of those, it's devastating.
The wine.
The wine is traumatic. And then for them, the whiskey, they're like, I'm
Oh.
sorry, you want me to just have a taste of that?
Just like the bottom skirt of the glass, like
Yeah, like, I think it's like 1 finger. I don't know how they measure these things. But like bourbon, whiskey, they're like, What's the point?" Um, so that's kind of what I go off of. Is there like, what do you go off of?
Yeah, I go off that as well. I try to make it smaller, I mean, just in general for what I do for work.
Mhm.
Try not to do it every day, and just because you didn't have it one day doesn't mean you double it the next.
Yeah.
I see a lot of people in active treatment, so a lot of them are like, "No, I never wanna touch it again." Like,
Right.
you
It's too
know
scary.
yeah, they're like, even I have a lot of people feeling guilty that they caused their cancer, which I tell them, I'm like, you didn't cause your cancer. There's so many factors into
Factors.
cancer itself. We can also make, reduce things also while you're on treatment. Like, let's not add fuel to the fire. Like, let's not drink while we're on treatment, but just working on reducing it. So I'm not sure with your guys and gals, like how many are they drinking per week on
Hmm.
average? Is it,
Hmm.
I know that sounds like very small to them, what you told them. Over here to me, I'm like, that sounds like a lot, you know?
Yeah, you have to understand too, like you're in Arizona, like the California area, Arizona area, like people are a little bit more, in my opinion, health conscious than like the meat and potatoes style beer drinker, whiskey drinker, bourbon drinker people of the East Coast, it seems.
True. Yeah, it's a
Um,
little bit different vibe over here.
yeah, and like I'm in Maryland, so if your buddy has a boat, if your friend has a pool, in the summer suddenly the intake goes up, right? So I've seen like 2 to 3 days a week, 4 to 5 drinks a sitting. Like I've seen a couple of those, and I feel like at that point that's considered heavy drinking, if I'm
Yeah.
not mistaken. Yeah,
Yeah. I don't know what's the actual term for like binge drinking, but I think it's right around, even
I
though
think
in
it's
some
that.
people's word of binging is like you're doing a lot, but
You're blacking out,
yeah, but that
you're getting
doesn't necessarily
arrested.
mean that. It can mean the five to
Yeah.
six. That is considered a heavy drinker, binge drinker, even
Yes.
though it's not
Right.
consecutively. Yeah.
Right. You're not, and that's the other challenge. It's not, okay, well, I don't have a problem. We're not saying you necessarily have a problem, but
Mhm.
we're looking at the whole context of health and the risk associated with alcohol. So the heavy drinking is the high risk, right? Like you're kind of playing with fire a little there. Whereas like my understanding is there's some research suggesting that alcohol in any amount could be a risk, correct?
Correct. And especially,
Okay.
I don't know if you've been seeing this in your practice, but a lot of clients are coming to me. They're like, did you see the Surgeon General said that is his number one cancer causing is alcohol? And I'm like,
Yes.
yeah. But then I was like, oh, yeah, this is what I do for a living.
Right.
So,
Right. I've lived this. I say this 18 times a day. Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
Yes.
So it is baffling to know that so many people don't know that.
Mhm.
And I didn't realize we should have been talking about it more. Like even our dietitians that work in general nutrition, we need to be talking about it more.
Yes.
Um,
It's a difficult conversation, I'm gonna be honest, because it's hard to say like, hey, like people still kind of have that connotation of like, you have a problem if I'm like sometimes when I have that person who's 2 to 3 times a week, 4 to 5 drinks in a sitting, like if I say, hey, like let's talk about your alcohol intake, is that implying there's a problem there? Right.
I could see that.
Especially like with strong mental health challenges in the fire service due to the exposure to trauma and high stress. It's like it just feels like a really iffy topic that I never feel like I handle well. But yeah, I mean it's such a social thing. Like, these big conferences, you'll see people drinking like 8 beer. I've seen like 8 beers in an hour. It's like insane. Um,
I mean, I've seen not where I've worked, but other places, doctors are the same way.
oh yeah, I believe it. Nurses are nuts too.
Yeah, I was like, I'm
Um,
gonna call it like it is. The healthcare
yeah,
field is probably just as bad when it comes to those
all bad.
conferences.
Meanwhile, the dietitians are like measuring it out to like an ounce for the most part. But yeah, no, that makes sense. So, okay, so the alcohol part's a challenge. So, like, what are your recommendations if someone's working on cutting back on their alcohol intake? They still want to enjoy it to a degree, right?
Mhm.
From a risk prevention, like, what would you recommend when cutting back?
And that's where I sit with the person themselves and ask them, like, what does cutting back look like for you? Is that one
Mhm.
cutting back to, let's say if they're drinking six in a night, well, I can have five. Okay, that's better than the six.
I'll go
You
for it.
know,
Yeah.
working on where you're at versus being like, you have to cut it out, and I don't only want to see you drink when there's a party. That's not realistic, and most of the time, patients or clients would walk out my door and be like, "I've never seen that dietitian again. She's crazy. Like,
She's mean. Uh huh.
you're mean.
Hmm.
Like, how dare
Hmm.
you?"
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Take away.
working on, like,
Done.
baby steps, like, what one less drink is one less risk, like, if you can do less, that's better down the line for you and wherever
Sure.
that lands. Granted, eventually, I would hope that you're not drinking every day, and can switch it up to like mocktails. Like right now, it's such a big, I don't know if it's on the East Coast, but here on the West Coast, mocktails
Yeah.
are the huge rave. Like even kids that are younger than me in their 20s are like, oh, I don't drink. I just do mocktails. I'm like, that's not how I grew up.
Yeah, back in our day,
Back in our day.
we were in heels and short skirt in the snow. Like, what are you? What? Uh,
Right.
Mocktails in this
Mocktails.
economy?
Yeah, right. And
Yeah,
green juice, what?
right. No, not even in the dietetic schools. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no.
Um, Anyway, yeah, okay, so the mocktails are something for sure, and well, and you can even add some, you can get quite a few phytochemicals from those as well, because a lot
Mhm.
of times they're fruit-based or, you know,
Yeah.
uh,
And
herbs.
I don't know if you've tried like Rituals
Mhm.
Zero Proof. Like I've tried their gin version because if I'm going to have a cocktail, I am not,
Yeah,
a saint when it comes to, I don't have alcohol. Like I occasionally will. I
sure.
do, if I'm switching to a mocktail, the gin is delicious from Ritual. You wouldn't even know, other than you're not going to get the buzz you're looking for.
Right.
But the taste is there.
Yeah,
And there's so many out there nowadays that you can try if you're really trying to cut back, but still want the taste.
perfect. Yeah, the mocktail thing, I haven't figured out a way to make it sound a little bit more masculine, if that makes sense. It's a hard sell sometimes, I feel like, with this population. But yeah, the Ritual, like those different brands that you mentioned are good options. Okay, so we've talked about like the three big things that we want to reduce the intake, but we're not saying cut it out entirely.
Mhm.
Like, but if your big thing is cancer risk reduction, or you're currently going through treatment and you're kind of scared, those are the things. I noticed you didn't say sugar,
Mhm.
because I thought sugar feeds cancer is the question that I usually get.
Yeah, no. So this is a big topic and I talk about it
Mhm.
all day, every day. I feel like
Yes. Yes. Now talk about it more when you're off work.
no, I'd rather, talk about it so it stops spreading the misinformation. And then hopefully by the time
Yeah.
people come to I hope none of your people ever have to see me, but if they do, they come to me like, oh yeah, I already know that that doesn't cause issues for me. I'm like, okay, good. Now we can just eat and fuel your body while you're on treatment.
Right.
So a lot of people think like sugar feeds cancer because of the PET scan. So the PET scan is the imaging that the doctors will do to see where the cancer is in the body. Is it only in one located spot where they did the biopsy, or did it metastasize further? And they can see it. You can see it on the scan, and they give you an IV. Best way I can describe it without being too technical, is a shot of like sugar through the veins. It's the
Mm.
most dumbed down version I can give on that. And
Mhm.
yes, the cancer cells will uptake some of that sugar, but it's not taking it up enough to make it metastasize bigger, grow faster. It's just going to explode and now you're riddled with cancer. That's not how that works. It is taking it up a little faster, and that's why the PET scan can pick it up on imaging. But
Mm.
as you know, as well as a dietitian, all our cells need sugar to function,
Right.
but all our other cells are not pulling it up as fast. So you can't see it coming through like that, but you can see it with a tumor site. Um,
Mm.
a lot of people think, well, sugar feeds cancer. So if I have sugar at all in my diet, I'm going to get a tumor down the line. That's not true. Yes, this is where I always say a lot of people get, it's like a long saying. Sorry, I'm a little all over the place. And I feel like the internet cuts out the middle portion and pushes it together.
Yes. Yes. Clip farming.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's excessive amount of sugar leads to weight gain that can lead to certain types of cancers. It's the weight
Yes.
gain that leads to certain types. That
Mhm.
being said, I'm not saying you need to totally eradicate sugar out of your diet. You can still enjoy sugar in moderation and still have a healthy weight and never end up with cancer.
Right.
Or you could be like some of my people. I always like to tell people, I'm like, I've had people that cut all the sugar out of their diets their whole life, or maybe in their adulthood, went strictly vegan and still showed up in my office with stage 4 cancer and asked me, I did everything right. Why do I have cancer?
Right.
So I hope that answered
Right.
the question. Um,
Absolutely.
okay.
Well, yeah, and I think the challenge too is because we're also looking at a performance-based population, right? So, yeah, the first responders struggle with a lot of things that the general population does, like high risk for overweight and obesity, high cancer risk, high cardiovascular disease risk, actually higher than the general population. Um, but where was I going with that? And it's gone.
It's okay. I heard it. It was like a brain fart. Gone.
Yeah. So the performance aspect of that. Um, the fireground, high intensity work, heavy gear, all of that, you need sugar to perform optimally in high intensity scenarios, So it's used as a tool, in fact, a tool that most of the general population may not have to use very frequently because the general population is sitting at a desk 9 to 5 job kind of situation.
Mhm.
Right. So, and I think sometimes there's a lot of fear with the sugar, cutting carbs and drastically slashing them. Carnivore is a big one right now. And that kind of flies in the face of your recommendations earlier.
Yeah, drives me a little nuts when I hear people are on carnivore, but
Yeah,
I
you
won't
just
get
throw
on
out
board on
all
that
the
one.
phytochemicals and fiber and yeah, anyway,
Mhm.
I just did a whole episode on that. Anyway. So yeah, sugar can be used as a tool. Chiefs and wellness pros, are your first responders struggling with nutrition because they just can't figure out how to apply it on shift work? Are they showing up to shift underhydrated and over caffeinated? Do they struggle with body composition, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, high blood glucose, but don't know how to make the changes on shift that will actually move the needle? Then the Fueling Fire workshop is for you. These 4 to 6 hour workshops are designed for peer fitness trainers, company officers, academy instructors, or just general first responders who are looking to learn more about nutrition that they can apply immediately that day at the workshop. The Fueling Fire workshop provides practical strategies for packing a go bag, hydrating on the fire ground, preventing nutrition-related injuries in recruits, aka making sure they eat enough so that they don't pass out during PT. The Fueling Fire workshop is instructed by yours truly, Megan Lautz, a dietitian that has a proven 3-step framework to overhaul the basics, aka Nutrition 101, but in a way that you've never seen it done before for the fire service. The second part of the framework is igniting optimal performance. How do I hydrate? How do I pack a go bag? How do I optimize my energy levels on the fire ground realistically? The third step in the framework is igniting lifestyle changes. How do I eat healthier with fast food? What can I make for dinner? How do I change the environment at the station? Practical strategies that can help your first responders eat better themselves and promote long-term changes in your overall department. Plus, if you book by February 28th, you get the Quick Bites videos for free. This is a $1,300 value that extends or prolongs the life of the Fueling Fire workshop. These are 12 10-minute videos that you can add into your learning management software, aka Target Solutions, with quick tips on how first responders can eat healthier on shift that day. Go to rescuerd.com to book a discovery call today. Now, you also mentioned being overweight can be another issue. And that's typically based off of, I'm sure, BMI.
Yeah, it's what they're using. And as we both know, it's not the best form to, assess for obesity because it's just taking height and weight and not factoring in muscle mass. Like a lot of firefighters, you guys have a lot of muscle mass on you, and
Yes.
you could be in a BMI of 32, but you're not overweight or obese technically if you look at you.
Sure.
So there is that. So I always try to tell people, just try to keep a healthy weight, more exercising, keep your muscle mass strong, just in general for your health down the line. But yeah, BMI is, I wish we had a better tool to really say that.
So technically, I believe Dr. Sarah Jenke did some of the research on this. BMI is actually an accurate measure for first responders of body fatness. That's not a delicate term or maybe the politically correct term, but essentially that's, I guess, what the research would say. So technically, yes, it's an accurate measure. So basically when I see InBody, so those scans that do body fat, muscle mass, whatever, those scales, we see that the muscle mass is very high, but the body fat typically is also a little bit on the high side. So yes, we do have those, people who could be on the cover of a, Firefighter magazine next week, but I would say that's probably fewer and far between. So that is something to definitely work on. And obviously sugar is a part of, you can add it into your diet and not be afraid that it's going to crazily, drastically increase your risk. So what are some others, are there trends right now that you're noticing that your clients or patients are coming in and being like, I'm scared of this?
Yeah. So I have a lot of people scared of sugar. That's just, I feel like majority of them come in with that to the point.
Yeah.
And this is like, the people I'm seeing is they're diagnosed with cancer and they're going in treatment. This is not,
Yeah.
I don't see many for risk reduction. I see in treatment or post treatment. So reducing the risk for reoccurrence. To the point where they restrict it so much that they're losing so much weight because their metabolism is so high from the cancer itself versus when they didn't have it, meaning they're burning more calories and protein than you and I sitting here together. And then you add chemo on top of that, or radiation or immunotherapy, and they're burning calories left and right. And then they get so restrictive that they cut out fruits, they cut out whole grains, they cut out, natural sugars that I'm like, what are you doing? Like, you're literally eating air. Like, and they've lost, like, maybe I've seen somebody lost 50 pounds in a month. Like, just like, it's scary because when they do that, it's not fat mass they're losing first, it's muscle mass. And that leads to malnutrition and stopping of treatment, which not a lot of people realize that doctors will stop treatment if you're too underweight or failure to thrive, like you're not eating enough.
Because that can increase the risk of mortality.
Correct.
If you lose too much weight too quickly, or if you're, you drop your BMI under 20 or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. So the concern would then be weight loss. Okay. Well, we kind of talked about cutting things out before we get into like what happens when if I get a diagnosis. What do we add in?
Adding, I love this topic. I rather add than subtract as best we can. I mean, those are the three that if you can minimize, great. If you can't eliminate, all right, I'll work with you on it. But adding in is like your fresh fruits and vegetables, and that can be canned, frozen, or fresh. Like I always say, however we can get in is better than none at all. And then your whole grains, so brown rice, quinoa, I'm like drawing a blank, whole wheat bread, anything like that. Also lean protein. So if you're meat and potatoes, like let's do more, I know this isn't meat necessarily, chicken and turkey, and then adding more seafood into like omega-3s from your salmon. If you're into salmon, fish, shrimp, trying to add like things that are not high fat meat. So like your ribeyes, if you're going to do a steak, I'd rather you do a sirloin or a filet than a ribeye because that's less fat.
Sure.
And lean. And then also beans, nuts, and legumes are great. So like, I'm not saying you have to go tofu and vegan. That's not what I'm saying. I mean, I would be booed and kicked out of this podcast if I told you to go vegan, I'm pretty sure.
Probably. There was a diet called the Engine 2 diet, which was a low-fat vegan diet, but it did not it did not fare well too good on the like surveys of which diet firefighters would want to follow. There was a study of, I think survey done of 3,500 firefighters asking them a bunch of different diets, like which one were they more likely to follow. Engine 2 was the lowest, but Mediterranean was the highest. So what are your thoughts on Mediterranean?
I like the Mediterranean. I don't think we need to switch our whole diet over to it because realistically, it's hard to do if you're going out to eat and it's not a Mediterranean restaurant. It actually has great research around lowering your cancer risk, diabetes, heart disease, Alzheimer's. I'm sure other ones too. I just can't think off the top of my head. But it's pretty much what I was saying. You're adding whole grains, fresh fruits and vegetables, healthy fats like avocados, olive oil. Your nuts are also considered a healthy fat in there. But yeah, and more seafood base than red meat. So if you are willing to follow that diet, you're actually setting yourself up for better risk reduction of cancer than saying a high fat, high red meat, deli meat, alcohol diet.
Yes. Fair. Okay. Yeah. And the other good thing with the Mediterraneans, we do have some studies that actually it is effective to use as a diet in the fire service when you're on the go and you're tired and you're sleep deprived and you're stressed. Like it's actually something that can be done. Some people go a little higher protein with it. Some people go a little lower carb with it. So it can be modified based off of what you want to do. But in terms of a blanket framework, it's one that I don't hate. Well, I do like. So, okay, great. So we're adding more fruits and veggies. We're adding more whole grains, more fiber, that kind of stuff. So what happens if I do end up with a diagnosis? Like what are the next steps?
Yeah. So what I've discovered working as a dietitian in this space is that I'll give you a little backstory or the numbers. There's one cancer dietitian that specializes in it to every 2,309 cancer patients. So there's not enough of me that specializes in this at all, like just period. So
Yeah.
when you get diagnosed, don't panic, don't cut foods out because you're just going to set yourself up for malnutrition even before you even get to your chemo. Most of the time you get diagnosed, it may be a few weeks before they get you to chemo, depending how severe your cancer is. I've seen ones where you get admitted to the hospital for certain blood cancers. That's different. But the ones like solid tumors, you got a little time in between diagnosis and your start of treatment. Don't go crazy. Make sure you're eating enough protein, getting your fruits and vegetables. Try to eat as, well as you can, 3 meals a day, a couple snacks, just to get yourself prepared for treatment. And then when you're in with your doctor, not every cancer center has one, but you should advocate to see the dietitian, even if you haven't even started treatment. Seeing someone like me before you start treatment is so much better than seeing me 6 cycles into your chemo or 6 cycles in or 6 fractions into your radiation, where you're struggling so bad, you've lost so much muscle mass, you have all these side effects. It's better for us to see where you're at starting, and then we can work with you throughout your whole treatment and keep you as strong as we can through it. And hopefully, nobody wants to be on treatment, but nobody wants to be pulled off treatment prematurely, which I have seen happen because of the weight loss, not eating enough, infections. Doctors can stop it because you could eventually, the treatment could kill you before the cancer could if you're so malnourished.
Sure. It's extremely stressful process on the body, and then when you are low muscle mass, low body fat, like it's even more stress,
Mhm.
right? So with that, like what are some of the side effects that you're seeing a lot of the times with cancer
Yeah.
of the treatments?
So appetite is a big one, and I see it
Mhm.
before they even start treatment. So a lot of my patients be like, "Yeah, I kind of lost my appetite a
Yeah.
month or two before I was diagnosed, but I didn't think anything of it." Or I had this rapid weight loss, and I was so excited. But then they
Mhm.
think about it, they're like, "Wait, that's too quick. That's not normal," before
Mhm.
they were diagnosed. So sometimes you have to work on the appetite even prior to treatment. And then treatment can make appetites even worse. Like people are eating very small amounts where I tell them, like, eat like this much, like every few hours. And they're like, oh, I can do that. Versus their loved ones who want to give them a plate this big and they want to
Mhm.
just throw the plate across the room.
Mhm.
So that's appetite. Taste changes are huge. So I don't know if you ever had COVID yourself or have had any
Mhm.
taste changes
Not
from it.
fun.
I don't know if yours disappeared or it changed it completely, but that's kind of what happens with chemo and immunotherapy. I've seen a little bit with patients could tell me things taste like metal. Things can taste bland, like cardboard, too salty, too sweet. It can range. And then the good old what you think of when cancer, you think of nausea, vomiting, constipation, diarrhea. So those are like the big ones that I see, and then I help manage. And there's ways we can manage it with nutrition. Granted, I always tell patients not everything can be managed with diet. Like we are going to need the meds from your doctor to help also play in tandem with what we're doing.
Gotcha. Like anti-nausea medications,
Mhm.
that kind of
Stool
stuff. Okay.
softeners or bulking
Mhm.
agents, so you're not running to the restroom 6 times in an hour.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. Not fun. Okay. So, can you speak a little bit to the benefit of hiring so there is a certification, correct, from the academy
Mhm.
for, can you speak about a little bit about why that's important? Um,
Yeah. So the certification is a CSO, so Certified in Oncology Nutrition Specialist. Currently, I don't have mine yet. I have the hours. I just have to sit for it, test
sure.
anxiety.
And there are dietitians who can do this, can specialize in it and not have the credential yet, but that
Yeah.
could be a marker
Yes.
for,
That will tell you that they are specialized in it, unless they are at your clinic and don't like they may not have one. Like I didn't have one working at my clinic. Doesn't mean we
Mhm.
don't know what we're doing. Like that's what we do all day long. It's not
Yes.
like I'm seeing diabetes and then a weight loss patient and then I'm working with cancer. Like I work with cancer all day long. But
Mhm.
with the CSO, dietitians have to have, I believe, 2,000 hours working one-on-one with cancer patients specifically. And they have to get
Yep.
sign off for it and then study and take a national exam to pass to be a certified oncology dietitian.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, okay, so great. So and the importance of that just coming from my standpoint, like, sometimes I will have, like, people come to me and be like, "Okay, can you work with me? I was diagnosed with thyroid cancer and now I need a low iodine diet." And, like, I can be the emotional support system, but, like, at the same time, I see 2 low iodine diets in my career, right?
Mhm.
Like, there's a huge difference going to someone like you who might see that on a semi-regular basis. Now, granted, you're doing a little bit more blood cancer, which I don't know how much you see with thyroid. Um, going to a dietitian who specializes in oncology gives you that specialization. Now, granted, they might not understand the first responder lifestyle, but often you're pulled, to light duty, or you're just staying at home during these treatments. A
Mhm.
lot of times you're not active, so things kind of shift a little bit there. Now, a diet typically you want to meet with a dietitian, correct? Like you don't want to go to some sort of nutritionist or quote. Is there any like people? Do you see a lot of fads or quote unquote specialists kind
Mhm.
of thing?
I saw a health coach,
Mm,
or I went,
yeah.
and I am not, when I say this, I am not shaming the profession.
Yes. There's great ones. There's
There's
absolutely
great
really good
ones.
ones.
Yeah.
Yes.
Um, they should stay away from cancer, in my opinion, health coaches. Just
Right.
do wellness. It just, you don't
Prevention.
fully understand the chemos and the drugs and the labs that go with it. And that's what cancer dietitians understand. That's what we see every day. We know what the labs are. We know what we're looking for. We know what the drugs are doing and what drugs you're on. Like I could tell you, hey, they're on cisplatin. You'd be like, but what? What? I'm like, what does that do to them? And you'd be like,
I got nothing on that.
nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's same with health coaches. Like they don't know. Like that's not
Mhm.
what they were trained in. Another group I would be cautious with is naturopathic doctors. And when I
Mhm.
say this, it's not that I don't believe in what they do. I think it's so good to have alternative and Western medicine together. But I've seen a few naturopaths scare the crap. Can I
Mhm.
curse on here?
You can curse on here.
Okay.
We work with firefighters.
Okay, great. Awesome.
The
I have
bejesus.
a potty mouth myself. So
Yeah.
I just have to rein it in sometimes
Yeah.
for what I do.
Yes, I try to be well behaved.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I don't know if your podcast allows this.
We'll find out.
Okay. um, but they scare my patients so much, or clients, depending where I'm working, to the point like how they come in not eating enough and lost weight. I had a client once like, yeah, I saw a naturopath before I saw you. They told me to cut out sugar and red meat and this and that and like all these things. And I'm like, yeah, I know we talked about red meat. We'll get back to that. But on
Mhm.
treatment, I'm not going to cut certain things out for you because I need you to eat.
Right. You liberalize the
We
diet
liberalize it because most likely you're not going to want to eat. So I
at
can
all.
get you to eat a steak. I'm going to be so excited.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, to the point where they were so malnourished seeing me and they haven't even started treatment. And then I saw them again a few months later and they thanked me because they're like, if I would have kept going to that naturopath who put me on this very restrictive diet, I think I would have died. And like, that's
Mhm.
not my words. That's what they said to me. They're like, I was so undernourished before I saw you. Now I feel like I can actually enjoy having a slice of cake with my kids. A lot of my
Right.
patients aren't old. Like a lot of people don't realize that cancer is not for old people. Like I see very young people
30s and
too,
40s, 20s. Yeah.
20s, 30s, 40s. I was able to enjoy a slice of cake with my kid's 2-year-old birthday party, and I
Mhm.
was able to enjoy the food I really like at the, Christmas. And I was able to eat and keep my weight on. And now I can go play golf with my buddies on my off weeks from treatment. And I feel strong enough to do it where I couldn't before.
Right.
So that's where those are like the ones I'm like, also don't just listen to willy nilly. I had cancer and this is what I did to fix it. Uh,
Yeah.
that also,
Yeah. Big red flag.
I love my survivors, but just because it helped you may not help the next person. And your cancer, even though you may have the same cancer, it's going to treat them differently than yours.
Sure.
So I don't
Plus
mind.
different socioeconomic, like social life,
Mhm.
careers, that kind of thing.
Yeah. And I
Financial
always like,
situations.
it would be great if you're a coach as like, here's what helped me mentally through this, or like, these are my
Mhm.
tools, or I went through a mastectomy for breast cancer. These were my go-to things during treatment to keep me feeling comfortable, or I get
Right.
that, or being like a support system for them. But when it comes to like meds or nutrition, like you need to be careful of who you listen to with that.
Yes, and the benefit is that because dietitians can do medical nutrition therapy, is often you can get them covered through insurance, health insurance.
With
Not always.
not with cancer, unfortunately.
Oh, it does really?
Yeah,
Well, I guess so I will say that most county insurances do have good preventative benefits.
that's good.
So if you can find a dietitian, and while it might not be cancer prevention necessarily, um, they may be able to take your insurance and still get it covered. It just might not be at your clinic, it sounds like.
The clinic maybe. So where the clinics I've
Okay.
worked at, sometimes it's covered, sometimes it's not. Some
Oof.
clinics, they don't charge for nutrition consults.
Oh,
Some
okay.
I've been noticing they're starting to. I mean, we
Mm,
charge for doctors and nurses, we charge for PT. I mean,
yeah.
healthcare is a business, so um, I wish it could be free. It'd be a lot easier for everybody, but
Sure, sure. Yeah, I
yeah,
know at least on the preventative side, like, for example, I can see someone through Aetna 12 times a year. Now granted, am I a dietitian who specializes? No. Um, but, I think if the only option you had was the free dietitian who was a generalist, I think you'd be in better shape because at the very least we can help make sure that you don't lose too much weight and that kind of thing.
correct.
Um,
Mhm.
but if you have a little bit of extra funds, um, yeah, hiring a dietitian can be a game changer and potentially life-saving, it sounds like.
Yeah, yeah. I've noticed there's people that they're like, I know I couldn't afford it prior, or I wouldn't let myself afford a dietitian prior, cash
Mhm.
pay. Now I have cancer. I'll do anything to help myself get through this, or family will pay. I've seen that
Yes.
happen. Um, and what's also great about like if you see a dietitian in cancer space like me who may not take your insurance, we can also provide super bills or take HSA, FSA accounts
Yep.
that we can hopefully get part of it covered for you. But I wouldn't try to not see a dietitian because you're fearful of that. I think the dietitian is the
Sure.
biggest tool in your toolbox along with your chemo and your oncologist.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Well, so, kind of kicking into that then. So where can people find you? Do you do coaching, that kind of thing?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram at my cancer dietitian. Don't put a C in it, put a T. I'm sure
Mhm.
you've
Mm.
come across.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
people
yeah,
forget about
spell
that one.
dietitian right.
Mhm.
Please. I'm just kidding. And then mycancerdietitian.com website. You can find me there. And I'm working on building out a group course. So it's like a one-time flat fee, or you could do monthly payments.
Mhm.
And then you're in with other people. So I've also noticed with cancer, it's very lonely. A lot of my
Yes.
patients in it and after it, in survivorship, feel like they're left, like they're just alone. No one gets it. Their loved ones don't really
Mhm.
get it. Their friends really don't get it and say some
Mm-mm.
horrendous things that I've heard over the years to
Yeah.
them. Where I want to bring together a small group of coaching clients. You guys may all have different cancer types, different parts of your journey, but with people and you get it and hopefully make some friendships out of it where you can reach out to each other.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I do. I hope that answered the question correctly.
Perfect. All right. Well, very good. We'll link that, your website and then your, social media in the show notes. Thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on.